Good morning, everybody. Happy Saturday to everybody. It's Alan Cashman, TheCashmanwins.com. We're doing this Saturday's edition of the Cashman's Playbook. We're going to have a college basketball play. We'll then go in and have a MLB future, and then we'll go over a quick strategy for betting the NBA finals future. 1 and 2 last week on the show in college basketball. That was the first losing week we've had on the show in college basketball. We're 11 and 5 right now, so we're well over 60%. Before we get started, go to TheCashmanwins.com, become a Pick subscriber, get everything that I send to my subscribers. 2 years, $79, 1 year, $52. That includes everything, all sports, computer projections included with that. So that's at TheCashmanwins.com. Follow me on Twitter as well, at TheCashmanWins. And then if you would, just if you're watching this on Twitter, like and retweet. And if you're watching on YouTube, like and subscribe, share. Just little things like that really help out. So if you could do that for me, I would really appreciate it. Let's get into it. This will probably take 15 to 20 minutes to get through this today. We're going to have one college basketball play. I did not see a lot out there today that I liked. We hit Miami of Ohio last night. They covered for us. That was really the only game I liked for Friday. I don't see anything that I really wanted to go after on Saturday. We've got a shorter card with some of the teams that have been eliminated from their conference tournaments already. And I just didn't see anything out there. And we'll still have some more teams playing tomorrow that aren't playing today. So I'm going to go with a two-team money line parlay. Now, depending on your book, you're going to get this at plus 110 to probably plus 115. Maybe that's changed in the last hour since I looked at this again, but you're going to get plus money on this. I'm going to take, for the first leg of this parlay, I'm going to take Providence. They're at home today playing Seton Hall. Seton Hall's not very good. Providence playing pretty well. I think Providence should have this one pretty easy at home today. The next play is more of a gut play. And I'm going to go with Bradley over my Indiana State Sycamores in the Missouri Valley tournament. Both teams this year over 20 wins in the conference. Bradley, the regular season champion. This would not be a normal play if you're just looking at these teams, how they play on the road. And also when I look at their last 5, how they're playing recently. There's really nothing decisive in those numbers, but Bradley come in. They've beaten Indiana State by double digits the last 2 times they played. They only played once this season, and Bradley went into Terre Haute and beat ISU 78-67. In that contest, Bradley outscored Indiana State 44-28 in the second half, and Indiana State shot under 38% in that game, while Bradley they had 5 players in double figures. Rink Moss, he's the big man from the Netherlands for Bradley. He had a double-double in that game, and he just put up 30 points in the last game versus Northern Iowa. He's going to be hard to stop. So this is a personal play, but I do like it. Plus, like I said, Bradley's a gut play. It is a gut play, but I liked it to get this parlay to plus money. So you only got to deal with 2 teams instead of 3 teams. So we're going to stick with these 2, but I am going to put Providence and Bradley in this parlay, like I said, around plus 10 to plus 115, depending on your book. That will be the college basketball parlay for this week. Next, we're going to go into some futures. We're going to go into the MLB future. I should be completely through all of the MLB teams over the next 2, 3, 4 days. I've gotten quite a bit done. I'm watching a lot of games and doing a lot of research. I'm watching a lot of spring training just because I love baseball. And I will say this, I have always considered myself a baseball purist. I don't like some of the rule changes over the last couple of years. I don't like the rule where you're forcing a relief pitcher to face at least 3 batters in an inning, because I think you take away a manager's strategy to bring in a lefty versus lefty. I think MLB could modify that rule maybe, or maybe you enforce it after the 4th or 5th pitching change, or 3rd or 4th pitching change. But I think you're taking away some strategy there from the managers. And then the shift, I never liked the shift, but I also thought, some of these players need to learn how to hit. I was not sure that if I liked banning some aspects of the shift because these players couldn't adjust. You don't see players anymore that have the Tony Gwynn, Wade Boggs, or even the Pete Rose approach to hitting. It's just all about launch angle and exit velocity nowadays. And it's not, to me, the game is not as fun watching. Maybe it's more fun for the average fan who's not really a baseball fan. They're more into it to be entertained, but I'm a fan of baseball. I like all aspects of it. And but I will say, now that I've watched several spring training games, and the more I've thought about the fact that baseball, it's always been 4 infielders, 3 outfielders. Like I said, watching these games with the new rules about the shift, I'm actually starting to recognize the game I love again. Seeing some hits up the middle, little bloops to the outfield, things like that. So I'm actually kind of in favor of the shift being banned, or at least modified to where you've got 4 on the infield, 3 in the outfield. Liking that. And I think right now, best thing baseball has added is the pitch clock. I know there's been some controversy early on with some violations, one that ended a game. But I do think each team probably should get a free warning per game with these pitch clock violations before they enforce it. But every game I've watched so far this year, I think, is finished in less than 3 hours in spring training. I did not like the idea at first, but I love what I'm seeing from the pitch clock. I think it's one of the better things baseball has done in the last several years. There may be some tweaks that they may need for it going forward, but I really like it, and I think it's going to be good and improve our experience for watching games as well. Baseball's biggest problem really right now is not on the field. The biggest problem is how people consume their product, particularly cord cutters. That's 50% of us now have cut the cord, and half of us can't find our local team on our streaming service because of carriage disputes. The regional sports networks like Bally, they're going under. MLB has a chance to remedy this issue. Maybe they're going to take over our local teams and show where we can see on MLB TV app where we can actually see our local teams. That's one of the things being batted around. But I never thought baseball was dying because of things on the field. I always thought their biggest problem is how these blackouts with teams. Baseball's a regional sport, and you can't. Most of us, half of us are having trouble finding our local team. And I've always thought that's been baseball's biggest problem when they're looking ahead in 15 to 20 years and trying to build a fan base. You want these kids to be able to find their team easily and become fans. And as a kid, I remember coming home and not being a Cubs fan, but being able to catch the 8th or 9th inning of a Cubs game in the 80s before they had lights in Wrigley Field and weren't playing night games. Every game was a day game. And you come home and see the 8th or 9th inning, and it really grew my love for baseball. So hopefully baseball gets that fixed, because it is my favorite sport. We'll get into the futures here. We're going to do a World Series future. And this is one of the things I like to bet most in baseball at the start of the season. Even you can bet them later on in the season as well. As the season goes on, the odds change. But World Series future, the matchup, the biggest win monetarily I've ever had was on a World Series matchup for 2021, where I had Houston versus Atlanta. Didn't even place the bet until July of that year. Had great odds because Atlanta got off to a great start, so they dropped as a candidate. Really, they were not expected to get there. But I could see watching that they were starting to get it together a little bit. And Atlanta was my preseason favorite to win the World Series that year. I'd already sent that out as my favorite to win. So we cashed both of those. When you're going to bet these, BetMGM for me is the best site. I don't even know if you can find all these matchups on the other books. BetMGM has them every year. It's one of the first things I look at when it's baseball time. They pretty much have every combination possible for World Series matchups there that you can bet. If you don't have a BetMGM account, I have a promo link that will give new users a deposit match up to $1,000. I'll post a link on Twitter here after we're done, or you can contact me at TheCashmanwins.com. If you want the link, just let me know. I'll be glad to send it to you. I'll try to post it in this YouTube chat as well when we're finished. But I'll have several combinations by the time spring training ends for these World Series futures. But for now, in the American League, one of the teams I like is Cleveland. I think they're a little bit of a sleeper team. They had a good year last year, kind of under the radar. I don't think you have a lot of people looking at them as a World Series team. 92 wins last year. Good lineup for Cleveland. They were not a power team, but they finished 7th in baseball in hitting last year. They've added Josh Bell to the lineup. Bell hit over 300 with Washington last season before he ended up in San Diego. He did not hit well for the Padres in the last 50 games or so, but he's going to have a full year here in Cleveland, it looks like. And Cleveland had a top 10 pitching rotation, a top 5 bullpen to go with this young lineup. So I think the lineup's going to be fine. If Cleveland can get anywhere near the production they got out of the pitching staff last year for this year, I can see this team in the hunt to the very end. So I like right now, Cleveland is one of my American League teams that I'm kind of focused on, looking for some matchups. And there's some really good odds to bet them. Two of the favorites that I like right now in the National League are last year's NLCS contestants. I like Philadelphia and I like San Diego. San Diego made a lot of moves last year, mid-year. Now they're going to have the whole group together for this entire season. I think the Dodgers will take a step back in the West. They're pitching. Walker Buehler, I believe, is out for the year. Gavin Lux in the infield, he's already out for the year. He's hurt. I think you're going to see LA take a little bit of a step back this year, and I don't see anyone else in that division that's really going to compete with LA or San Diego. So, but I like San Diego. I think that lineup is pretty good. You're going to have Soto for a full year now. They just locked up Machado. It's going to be a pretty good team. They added Xander Bogaerts from Boston. Great pickup there. That guy he's a great player. So I like San Diego a lot in the National League. So I also like another team to pair with Philadelphia as a matchup. I like the Phillies in the East. Like I said, Phillies, Braves, and Mets are all really good teams in the East, but I love the addition of Trey Turner for Philadelphia. Phillies are going to be without Bryce Harper for a while. Elbow surgery. I think I read maybe he'll be back around the All-Star break. But right now, Philadelphia or San Diego versus Cleveland, Cleveland versus Philadelphia at MGM is 101. So if you're going to bet a dollar on that, if you're just doing this for a hobby, something to do for fun, you bet a dollar on Philadelphia versus Cleveland at MGM to make the World Series. It doesn't matter who wins it, just as long as those are the two teams that are meeting. $1 will win you $101. If you look at San Diego versus Cleveland in the World Series, that's 66 to 1 odds. So a $2 bet's going to get you $133. I mean, I don't know why you wouldn't do that right now. There's several combinations. Like I said, before it's all over with here in the next couple of weeks, I'll have several combinations posted on the website for subscribers. But right now, I think those are a couple of matchups, Cleveland versus Philly and Cleveland versus San Diego, that I like. Remember, we hit Super Bowl. We had a nice Super Bowl win with Philadelphia versus Kansas City. That was one of our future Super Bowl matchups in the offseason that we cashed in on. And like I said, I really like this one for the World Series, Cleveland versus Philadelphia and Cleveland versus San Diego. So if you're interested in that, go to MGM and take a look. We're going to wrap this up with the NBA Finals. Going to keep the NBA strategy pretty simple. I'm not a big NBA fan. I've really just started watching games in the last couple of weeks, started following it a little closer, paying closer attention, digging into the teams and what's really going on. I look at the matchups every day, but I don't dive deep into them. I'm looking for averages and things like that. And the NBA is kind of bipolar. You don't know from night to night what is going to happen. So it's not something I bet on very often. But looking at the futures for the NBA champion, I think you have 4 teams right now that legit could or should win it as I see the landscape. I think you got Boston or Milwaukee in the East, and I think in the West you got Phoenix and Denver. And those are the 4 teams really that I feel have the best, and they are the 4 favorites, and I think they are for a reason. And that's usually how you don't have a lot of really stunning teams that go all the way through and make it to the NBA Finals very often. It's usually teams you're expecting. So Boston in the East, they're the favorite out of the 4 teams. They're plus 280. Milwaukee plus 475. Milwaukee's taken over the lead in the East by 1 game over Boston. That's big. There's 20 games or so left in the season. If Milwaukee could keep that lead, they'd have a game 7 on their home floor if they'd happen to meet up Boston again in the playoffs this year. Milwaukee was a little short last year, had some injuries, lost the home court advantage. That would be big, and I would like Milwaukee in that situation. And Phoenix in the West, if they're healthy, Durant with him added to the team along with Booker and Ayton, and then Chris Paul, they're going to be tough. I watched Denver last night. Very good team. Jokic averages a triple-double. I had not watched him play a lot. I've watched some highlight reels, but I was sitting and watched the full game last night. Denver's a pretty good team. So those are the 4 teams I'm interested in. If you look at the 4, personally, Boston's a favorite. They're actually my least favorite of the bunch. So I think Tatum, as talented as he may be, puts up some numbers. He's a good player. But I think he's the weakest of the leaders for the 4 teams. I was not impressed last year with him in the playoffs. He had some nice games, but he really also disappeared in some big moments. And I think, yes, that's part of growing. It's part of maturing. He could definitely overcome that, but he's going to have to show that to me. And with Giannis and the Milwaukee, and if they're healthy, I really like the Bucks in that matchup in a series, 7-game series. If Milwaukee can have that home court advantage. So if you leave Boston out of this equation and you place 3 equal bets for Phoenix, who's plus 400 to plus 450, Milwaukee, who's around plus 475, and then Denver, who's plus 700, those 3 teams, if one of those hits when you're placing an equal bet, you're still going to have a profit. So if your strategy is to just get a profit any way you can get it, that's probably the best way to approach this. I already sent out one of these teams last night to pick subscribers as the team that I thought would win it all. But I think a good strategy to attack this also is taking Phoenix, Milwaukee, and Denver, all of them equal bets for one of them to win the NBA championship. And like I said, those are my 3 favorites to win it. So you approach it however you think is best, but that's just my advice. Okay, which went a little bit longer, I think, this week than normal, but we're going to wrap this up. Please hit the subscribe buttons on YouTube. Please like and retweet if you're watching this on Twitter. Just something so easy really helps me out. Follow on Twitter at TheCashmanWins. And then if you want to become a Picks member, go to TheCashmanwins.com, click join. Right now you can get a lifetime pass for $159. That's normally $399. Or you can get 2 years, all sports, for $79. You can get 1 year for $52. That's $1 a week. This includes everything I send out, all sports, computer projections, futures, everything. We take PayPal, Venmo, Cash App, credit, debit, everything's accepted. Just go to the website, TheCashmanwins.com. If you have any questions, you can contact me there. Feel free to DM me on Twitter as well. My DMs are open at TheCashmanWins. And that will do it for this week of the college basketball parlay. We are going to go with Providence and Bradley on the money line around plus 110. And then World Series future, like I said, we're going to a couple different matchups with Cleveland versus Philadelphia, Cleveland versus San Diego. Really good odds there. And then NBA final strategy. Just bet Phoenix, Milwaukee, and Denver equal bets that one of them is going to win the championship. And if one of them hits, you're going to have a profit. But that's it for this week. I appreciate everybody that's tuned in and supported me. And I hope you all have a great weekend. Enjoy the games. Thanks, guys.